These are the worst foods for your heart, ranking the top 35 by how they can hurt your primary vessel. The heart is a very sensitive part of the body, and notorious high-fat meals can ultimately sabotage it and lead to your demise. The count begins. 35. Fizzy sodas. Much like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, these drinks are quite high in sugar. Moderation is key, as most of it is water, but caution is necessary, as even that is not so low in refined sugars. 34. Margarines. These are terrible spreads, which can make your toast entirely go unhealthy. Margarine is not as fatty as butter, but it has chemicals, and it's still quite high in fats. Beware of these kinds of processed, high-fat condiments of terror. 33. Nuggets. These deep-fried chicken snacks are loaded with sodium and are quite high in fat. Caution and moderation is necessary. One meal of nuggets alone can reach a maximum of 60 grams of fat per serving. 32. Frappe. Frappe is the perfect coffee for the morning. This dose of caffeine and sugar can be quite bad for your hearty health, so be cautious and limit it. 31. Milk chocolate. The milk chocolate is very popular, but it is also quite high in sugar and dietary fats. This is a heartfelt disappointment for your body if eaten in excess quantities. 30. Lemonade. Lemonade is high in added sugar. 1 cup of lemonade often reaches amounts of sugar higher than 70 grams, which is about 17 teaspoons of this white hazard. This means you are raising your own blood pressure. Sugar and blood pressure are good friends, but you are an enemy to yourself if drinking it regularly. 29. Hot dogs. Hot dogs are often high in fat, and sometimes minor processing can be done to make these hot dogs perfect and divine by taste. They often contain high saturated fat and even ammonia, leading a person straight to hospital if consumed regularly. 28. Tea. Okay, this is harsh, I know, but let me explain why. Tea contains EGCG, a toxic mixture of sugar and acid similar to caffeine, and infecting your heart in the same way. EGCG raises heart disease chances and causes high blood pressure, which is also bad for a human's physical heart. Tea is often associated with metabolic syndrome, which can also indirectly affect your heart. 27. Cheddar cheese. High in fat, this yummy cheese is not so yummy anymore once it kills your bloody heart. The cheese that they often put in snacks and burgers, all made of terribly poisonous lard, can boost heart risk within a matter of time. Cheddar cheese is also high in saturated and trans fats, which are the worst enemy of a human's heart and overall health. 1 ounce of it contains about 40 grams of fat usually, so do not fall for this tasty ghee. 26. Fried chicken. Are you big fans of KFC? Maybe you're just addicted to this rubbish. A bucket of fried chicken of such sorts can ultimately reach where about 30 grams of fat, of which most of it is saturated fat, which could be ultimately dangerous for your heart and other parts of the body, especially your organs. Deep-fried food is loaded with fat, and therefore this could be much worse than a trio of king-sized Mars bars. 25. Iced tea. The same rubbish, same EGCG compounds, but much more sugary and full of food colors and flavoring materials. While the flavorings can boost your risk of cancer, they often risk your heart as well. EGCG can also raise your chances of becoming diabetic, further influencing the heart's demise. The whole problem with processed sugars, well, this one is really a personal problem for your happy heart, who enjoys a healthy lifestyle each and every day. One bottle of Fuse tea is equal to 65 grams of sugar, which is roughly equal to over 15 teaspoons of white and sweet chemicals and empty calories. White sugar might be sweet. Well, it's nothing to risk your heart health for, as it can be much more painful than common heartache. 24. Sugary cereals. Sugar is a sweet-toothed devil. That is what we all know about refined sweetness, engineered with multiple chemicals to give it a taste. Cereals don't look so bad, do they? Well, some are secretly loaded with white sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and more rubbish. Breakfast becomes empty when adding too much white sugar. Whether chocolate-flavored cereals, peanut butter crunchies, sweet pebbles, or hoops of fake honey and sugar, one plate of cereal can reach up to where about 55 grams of unhealthy sugars. By raising your blood pressure, sugar can indirectly break your heart to pieces of cake. In rare cases, vegetable oils are also added, providing enough fat to ruin your heart health dramatically. 23. Cakes. Cake is yummy, that's for sure. But even one single piece can contain high fat and ridiculous amounts of added sugar, which can both ruin your heart health. Often, cake is made with fancy butter, and therefore a small piece of cake, if butter is added to its recipe, can easily reach more than 35 grams of fat, of which most are saturated fats. Saturated fats are considered a toxic waste for a person's heart, and caution is the key to handle it. The guidelines suggest you not to consume over 10 grams of saturated fat daily, since this fatty acid is highly toxic. Eating too much fat, including saturated fats, can easily boost the risk of heart failure, coronary heart disease, cardiovascular disease, and many more heart-related issues, which can all cause pain and lead to a human's demise. 22. Butter. Butter contains 85 grams of fat for a small portion of 50 grams of a serving. Butter is slightly processed, but the main heartache is the fact it is an ultimate fat bomb ready to explode. While some try to prove that butter is healthy, researchers know very well that butter is a heart killer. High-fat foods are your heart's worst enemy, and butter is loaded with fats. Butter is also very rich in saturated and trans fats, which are both highly toxic for your organs, cells, and ultimately, they are toxic to your heart and blocked blood vessels. 21. Pretzel snacks. These pretzels are carb, fat, and sodium-loaded bomb. One packet of mini pretzel snack pieces will contain about 400 calories and a very high amount of salt. Salt can boost your blood pressure, and within time, this can contribute to heart-related risks. These snacks are also loaded with fats, which are the primary enemy for your heart when it comes to a human's health. Be very cautious and try avoid it as much as you can. 20. Fried fish. If fried KFC was bad enough, the fish is much worse than a whole bucket of these chicken snacks. Fish absorbs way more fat and is often done in a pan with lots of canola oil, or even deep-fried in some restaurants, especially if these places sell mainly fast food items. A fried fish serving can reach 600 calories or more, in addition to lots of salt and 70 grams of fat. This is way more fat than you need in one day, or even a few. The daily limit suggested for fat is strictly no more than 25 grams of fat overall. Fried fish can also unleash lots of acrylamide, a toxin created by a mixture of toxic fat and unhealthy sugar type when the food reaches a higher temperature than needed. Acrylamide can ultimately destroy your organs, including the human's heart. 19. Donuts. Donuts are loaded with sugar and canola oils. Both are able to sneak up to your heart and destroy it until it bleeds and another human is gone due to sacrificing his own health for a tasty bunch of poisonous food. Donuts are often coated with chocolate, vanilla, cream, and other unhealthy add-ons, which can all lead to a heart attack one day. 18. Gummy sweets and jelly candies. Extremely high sugar is the perfect recipe for an extreme heartache and a call from the Grim Reaper telling you eat healthier or die. One bunch of jellies usually contains over 90 grams of sugar per snack or pack. This amount of sugar can ultimately raise your blood pressure, leading to clogged arteries, blood clots, and many reasons for a cruel heart attack. Sugar can indirectly contribute to other cardiovascular problems, especially when eating gummies, which have 4 times as much as sugar as the daily limit suggests. 17. Ice cream. Ice cream is cold-hearted. It contains enough sugar and fat to cover 2 whole lunch meals on a big fat plate. One ice cream usually contains about 90 grams of unhealthy sugars and between 30 to 60 grams of fat, of which most are saturated fatty acids. Saturated fat is a hearty killer. Remember that even a little too much can lead to deadly outcomes later in your life. 16. Bacon. Extreme fat amounts in pork are well known, and they can contribute to a very big heart-related outcome, which often results in a painful death on the hospital bed. One plate of bacon, with no fries or side dishes, can alone contain about 50 grams of fat, of which 35 are usually saturated fats, which are demons looking to corrupt your organs and heart health before killing you. Like in these stories, you get tempted to eat and someone hunts you down or something. 15. White chocolate. This sugar-loaded treat is heavily processed, and it's very high in refined sugars. One bar of Hershey's contains about 45 grams of sugar, in addition to a quite high portion of fat and crushed Oreo pieces. A king-sized bar of white chocolate can even reach the amount of 80 grams of sugar, which is 4 times as much as sugar as the daily limit. The emulsifiers and bleaching agents, which give it white color and taste, are also very likely to boost your own risk of a heart fatality. 14. Crisps. Crisps are very popular health assassins, intending to sabotage your heart as soon as possible. One packet of crisps contains about 700 calories in most cases, in addition to 40 grams of unhealthy carbs from the potato flour and add-ons. Often enough, crisps gain some cheesy or other tasty flavor. In these cases, many flavorings are added, and the crisps become much more fatty or heavily processed, further terrorizing a human's heart. Avoiding crisps as much as possible is a necessary way to protect an average human's heart health and overall well-being. 13. Cheese puff snacks. These yummy snacks are loaded with food colorings, monosodium glutamate, chemicals, salt, and disastrous amounts of fats, including processed trans fats. Trans fats are fatty acids which were processed in a lab with hundreds of chemical types, including poisonous components such as arsenic, chromium, and hydrochloric acid. The many toxic chemicals in cheese puffs and the high amounts of fat can ultimately boost the risk of heart and cardiovascular issues in very painful ways. These snacks can also block your blood vessels without even tampering cholesterol levels, leading to a more painful fatality in hospital. 12. Fatty steak. Steaks can be healthy, but the fattier ones are considered as ultimate danger. One steak is nasty enough to ruin your health by pumping extreme amounts of saturated fat in your liver. One entrecôte steak contains about 70 grams of fat, of which 50 grams are saturated fats. Fats, especially saturated fats, can mess up your cholesterol levels instantly, developing heart issues for your later life and causing an eventual deadly outcome. Research by scientists suggests that due to its high amounts of saturated fats, red meat, such as fatty steak, can be much more destructive and fatal than smoking or taking drugs. 11. Milkshakes. Milkshakes are the fattiest drink on earth, containing excess white sugar amounts aside from the fat. One milkshake usually contains about 600 calories, 80 grams of added sugar per serving, and more or less 40 grams of fat. Milkshake is often made from full-fat ice cream balls, mixed with tons of refined sugar and add-ons like Oreos, chocolate syrup, and similar condiments to spread on the top. While seemingly better than other Demon's Eat drinks, such as Coke, Diet Coke, or unnatural fruit juice, the milkshake is made primarily of fats and unhealthy types of sugar, while the soft drinks is usually primarily made of water, with much less sugar content being present. This makes the milkshake also become the worst of all drinks for a human's heart. 10. Peanut butter. Peanut butter is loaded with both added sugars and fats. One single sandwich with a normal dose of peanut butter on top shall usually contain about 300 calories per small serving, as well as 60 grams of sugar and ultimately 50 grams of fat, which is way above the daily recommendations. High-fat condiments, such as peanut butter, can clog up arteries and veins, cause leukemia, or directly attack the heart with its toxic materials. Sugar, while it doesn't directly cause heart-related issues, it still boosts your blood pressure, which can often also worsen your heart health. With both together, this highly caloric condiment can boost both heart disease and cardiovascular disease risk. The heart is one of the body's most sensitive organs, and humans must stop feeding themselves fat to prevent a catastrophic health risk before your life is yet to be doomed. 9. Mayonnaise. Whether it is hiding in an egg salad or visible on a little toasted bun, mayonnaise is the most unhealthy condiment on our planet. Made with high fat and toxic chemicals, nobody could easily resist some mayo. However, with about 90 grams of fat per 100 grams of spread, as well as very high sodium levels and heavily processed additives being present, This delicious, naive-looking store product is able to make your heart cry all night the words, "I wish I never ate it." Fatty condiments like mayonnaise can boost your heart risk very easily, often tampering cholesterol and sugar levels due to its high saturated fat content. This can further boost your chances for a massive heart risk. Often, the mayo may also secretly contain small to medium amounts of a toxic chemical called triclosan, which is literally used as a chemical inside soap. This can further mess your heart health. 8. Pizza. Everyone would love to sit in an Italian restaurant or pizzeria for his favorite dose of this doughy, cheesy, and fatty triangle of delicious pizza. However, half of one small pizza contains about 400 calories and a destructive quantity of fat, usually reaching 50 grams per half a serving. Eating one slice of pizza can immediately boost your risk of heart disease by almost 55% of likelihood. This is some terrible news. Pizza also contains white dough in massive quantities, further leading processed and unhealthy types of carbohydrates to the passage of your heart. Pizza also has lots of sodium, which can ultimately raise blood pressure, which can indirectly lead to your heart's demise. Pizza also contains potassium bromate, which is an extremely toxic chemical, literally used to create both paint and certain types of soap. This catastrophic health hazard can disable your breathing systems, further isolating the heart from what it needs to survive: oxygen and air. So, be cautious and avoid pizzas as much as you can. 7. Stevia-based foods. Stevia is a chemical, often mistaken to be a healthy alternative to sugar and relatively natural. However, this is the bad news for those who enjoy a no-sugar snack. This is much worse for you than sugar. Stevia can lead to metabolic stress and disorder, further pumping the heart's recipe of chaos. Stevia can ultimately boost your sugar levels, since it's made not from a sugar compound or processed additive, but it is made of pure chemicals, just like cigarettes and drugs. Research implies that stevia has a very similar role in health to cocaine. Beyond that, stevia is made of 99% toxic chemicals, which can boost organ damage, leading to failure of organs, including the heart. 6. Brie cheese. Brie cheese is extremely high in fat and is considered as the yummiest, yet the most addictive food on our planet. Consuming a slice of brie cheese has both an immediate and a long-term effect on the body. 1 ounce of brie usually contains about 60 grams of fat, of which most are saturated fats. Brie cheese is also high in processed, hydrogenated trans fatty acids. Trans fats are the #1 cause of heart failure, and 1 ounce contains about 2 grams of it, while health guidelines suggest that even 1 gram of it per day is way too much. Brie cheese is very high in sodium, further escalating your risk of heart issues. 5. French fries. These yummy yellow treats are very pleasurable and yummy, but it is highly toxic for your heart due to its fat content. Deep fried in canola oils, full of trans fats, the fries absorb everything while being prepared, and they reach catastrophic amounts of different fat types, of which also a high amount of trans fats. Trans fats are processed and engineered in a lab, meaning they are high in toxins, and they are worse than any other food component existing in this planet. One small pack of French fries usually contains 3 grams of trans fats and 60 grams of overall fats, or in rare cases, even more. Adding fries to your daily meal can easily lead to a promised heart failure. One meal of French fries, according to scientific research, can already disable your artery functions, which could easily elevate blood pressure and, within time, heart risks of all sorts. 4. Mac and cheese. This plate, filled with macaroni and yummy yellow cheese, is both overloaded with fats and rich in refined, unhealthy types of carbohydrates. One mac and cheese meal equals to 50 grams of fat per serving and up to 3 grams of sodium, 90 grams of carbs, and even small doses of added sugar. Adding cheese-based sauces can triple the calories, fats, and rubbish. Research indicates that eating one bowl of mac and cheese can already boost your heart's toxicity and increase likelihood of a heart attack by 70% within a matter of years, or in rare cases, even months. Mac and cheese often also contains additives and toxic chemicals, meaning it will cause your heart to cry, "Stop eating fat, please!" 3. Pastries. Pastries are delicious and popular treats. Often, a man goes to a cafe to enjoy the vibes of a fresh butter croissant or a cinnamon bun. However, this is very risky for your heart's healthful desires. One pastry can roughly reach almost 5 full grams of trans fats, as it is also high in carbs, other fats, unhealthy sugars, canola or other vegetable oils, and sometimes even sodium and additives. To keep the item fresh, these pastries often contain lots of emulsifiers, which also give it a yummy taste. The shocking truth is that as much as they are all tasty, they are a heartbeat away from a short visit at hospital and an eventual demise of all organs, leading to ultimately harsh death. 2. Hamburgers. These poisonous mountains of fat and other rubbish are ultimately yummy, but they can pose greater danger than any other type of hazard. Hamburgers tower up to massive sizes and mass-murdering amounts of calories. One hamburger contains an ultimate portion of 700 calories in average, 70 to 80 grams of fat, of which 2 grams of trans fat and over 20 grams of saturated fat. Hamburgers often contain various carbs, which in excess can also lead to heart risks. One burger usually contains 40 grams of carbs. The hamburger also contains over 5 grams of salt, meaning that this junk food item is the saltiest food on Earth. Salt ultimately raises blood pressure, often resulting in heart disease and even cardiovascular disease. This is all poison, and your heart just wants to breathe real air instead of toxic gas or something really, really bad. 1. Buttered popcorn. Never expected this, but popcorn with butter is the only food worse than a burger. In fact, it is worse for your heart than any other food or meal. Buttered popcorn is eaten in front of a TV while you're watching movies for so many hours. Watching TV for 4 hours while consuming buttered popcorn like a real loser's soul for the big bad devil is bad. It can raise the likelihood of heart disease by 80%, which is more than any other food item on the planet. One bowl of buttered popcorn contains about 70 grams of empty carbs, 90 grams of fat, of which 40 grams of saturated fat and 8 grams of trans fat. as well as 13 grams of salt, which is way more than a towering cheeseburger meal with French fries. Be warned that watching TV all day and eating this toxic snack can quickly open a one-way ticket to the Grim Reaper's ride from McDonald's to hell.